Hi, beautiful people. This is Angel. I'm actually being brave and being on camera. I do not have makeup, nor do I need makeup, but I have brushed my hair, which during a pandemic is considered a step up. This is considered effort. I have brushed my hair. I have plaited my hair. If you're American, I have braided my hair, but I'm British, so I say I plaited my hair. Anyway, so before I go off on a completely strange tangent, so I've just watched Yashahime episode 12. So you may have considered from the title that there are going to be spoilers in this. There will be probably a couple of spoilers touched on for Inuyasha as well. So if you don't like spoilers and you have either been sleeping under a rock and not checked out Inuyasha, granted there are quite a few episodes, but by gosh, it's worth watching. Or you haven't got up to date on Yashahime, I actually took out a Crunchyroll subscription and actually subjected myself to subtitles. Yes, I usually watch dubs. I will touch on that as well during this because I have been able to watch the dubbed version, however far they've dubbed it. But yeah, I have watched whatever dubs have been done, but I have been watching the subs so I can keep right up to date with it. I have subscriptions for everything. I am doing so. I'm supporting the industry. Please do that yourself where you can. I get why some people don't watch it very legally, but at the same time, the animation industry is really poorly paid. So I like to support them properly where I can, where I have the money to do so. So yes, anyway. So the reason I decided to do this is inspired by two YouTubers. One is Axel Beats, who does a weekly review of every episode of Yashahime. So please check him out. So the other YouTuber, and I'm sorry in advance if I pronounce your surname wrong, but she's called Angela Tehaha. Again, I'll put her link in the below. Again, she's a massive Inuyasha fan. She's been doing a lot of reacts to the to Yashahime. She's also been doing straight reviews as well, and she's been doing other fun videos surrounding Inuyasha and Yashahime and so on. So let's get into the topic, shall we? So I don't know if you can see up there. I'm not very good at this opposite thing. Up there, you might just be able to see above my Ninja Turtle pop things. I have a Inuyasha and Sesshomaru battling pop. No, I can't do it. Up there. Thing. I love Inuyasha. I've had all of the episodes for like ever. I did have to get them from a foreign country and invest in a multi-regional Blu-ray player in order to watch them. As a British person who has loved anime for as long as I have, having a multi-regional anything is a must, and the invention of such a thing was like amazing when it happened. Not 100% sure about the legalities of that, but at least I'm paying for everything rather than watching it on a pirate site. So I've owned every episode of Inuyasha for ages. Now, when I heard about Yashahime, I was quite excited because I wanted to know what happened to the old gang when everything happened. I mean, it was the perfect ending. I was so happy with that ending. It was so cute. I'd already read the manga all the way through because obviously there was a massive gap between the main series and then the final act. I just really loved that anime. So much so that actually when Yashahime was announced, I actually started watching through Inuyasha, or just before actually. It wasn't when it was announced. It was more when it was announced when it was going to start coming out on Crunchyroll. So when I found out about that, before I actually started watching Yashahime, I watched through Inuyasha, and actually just about finished sort of watching all of the episodes around a full-time job, I might add. and streaming on Twitch. So, but we got to the end of all 167 episodes. Does that include the final act and the four movies? Yeah, there are 4 movies, and I actually really like the 4th one with all the little Hanyos. It's so cute. So all 4 movies, all of the old episodes. Just before Yashahime came out, watched the first episode of Yashahime, and I had to start all over again with Inuyasha because, my God, I was just like, oh, this is so good, and I want to watch it again. Now, the first... Oh, actually, funny story following on that. The last couple of discs of my main set, so not the final act set, but the main set, were damaged. So I've actually ordered a new one, and that white DVD just above the creepy wig head for my cosplay wigs is actually my brand new set, and I'm giving my old set away to a friend. It doesn't include the movies though, so I'm now putting the Blu-ray movies because I have DVDs. So I have put the Blu-ray movies on my wish list on my Amazon. So those should be winging the way to me in the new year when I have some pennies to pay for them. Because I cannot be without my Inuyasha, because if it becomes impossible to watch any other way, I will have Inuyasha to watch. Anyway, so yeah, so I've watched it through, and I will probably start watching them through again just to check the discs on there because I'm like obsessed. The only other franchise that I am this obsessed with, there's 2 actually, is Ninja Turtles, which are all the green ones here and other way there. Those 2 rows next to Inuyasha are all Ninja Turtle DVDs. So let's get back to it. So what do I think of Yashahime so far? The first episode. So we get this episode where you have Toa, who is one of the twins, one of Sesshomaru's kids. She is captured, and they start saying about rumors they heard and a story they heard about Inuyasha and his Miko wife, essentially. And so you get to see the old gang. So we get all the old, in the dub, we get all the old voice actors. I'm not sure if that's the same in the Japanese one, but I would like to think so. But yeah, so you get a little story of a little bit of what happened in between and so on. And the demon they face is linked into the current story. So that got me into it because I was like, it's Inuyasha with the little cute dog is. Anyway, but it was kind of like the next few episodes are kind of like what leads up to that episode. So they kind of did a Deadpool thing, basically. And it's basically they've only got 25 episodes, I think, and they're doing the monster a week thing, which is fine, but at the moment seems a little bit unfocused, if you know what I mean. If you have watched it, you probably do. One of my main complaints about Yashahime at the moment is in Inuyasha, you had a lot of struggle and reward. So Inuyasha or Kagome or Sango or even Moroku, they would have some kind of internal or external struggle, particularly Inuyasha, and they'd have to overcome it. I mean, right from the very beginning, Inuyasha has to get over the fact that his ex-girlfriend, who is ex, essentially killed him. And to him, no reason at all. You know, he didn't do anything in his mind. He knows he didn't do anything. In fact, he didn't do anything because it was Naraku. So you get an internal struggle right from the beginning in that he has to come to terms with the fact that the woman that first showed him any kind of affection since his mother actually suddenly decided to try and kill him, and did succeed, and pinned him to a tree, sealed him to a tree, and left him for dead for 50 years. Then he wakes up and her incarnation, who looks very much like her, but is not like her, is the one to release him. And he ends up getting stuck with her because of the beads of subjugation and so on and so forth. So he kind of has a lot to get over in the first place. The whole of the original anime is basically everybody coming to terms with who they are as themselves and accepting that. For Inuyasha, it's that he's a half demon and that's okay. It doesn't matter what the world thinks. He is a good person and that's all that really matters. I know he has his moments, but work with me here. Miroku, he realizes that actually he doesn't need to be after every woman walking, and that actually he finds someone in Sango. Sango is, she has to come to terms with what her brother did, and what, throughout the whole thing, it's very much like, I should be killing my own brother for what he did to my family, but he's my brother and I love him, so that's her struggle. Kagome, well, she's a 15-year-old girl stuck in feudal Japan where normally you'd be married off at that age. I mean, even Sesshomaru has an internal struggle. He hated humans, and yet he falls for Rin. I suppose he doesn't really fall for her during the Inuyasha stuff. He just becomes so fond of her. And then, obviously, when they get older, along comes Toa and Setsuna. So, yeah. So, this is already becoming really unfocused, kind of like the anime. So the new characters. So you've got Setsuna, Toa, and Moroha. Out of the three, my favorite is Moroha because she is so fun. She is the perfect combination of Inuyasha and Kagome. You can really tell whose kid she is. And there's an episode where she sort of lets slip that she grew up alone and this, that, and the other. And you were just like, oh, Inuyasha would never have wanted that. Kagome would never have wanted that. So they really do give you the feels for her. Toa was separated from Setsuna, her twin, at a very young age. We don't know why. All we know there is a forest fire. Presumably it's a reason why everything happened, why the children grew up alone, essentially. Toa ended up falling through a time tunnel, to do with the Tree of Ages, and happens to be found outside the Goshinboku, I think that's what they call it in Japan, but the Tree of Ages, and is found by Sota, so Kagome's little brother, and he brings her up, raises her, and it's quite sweet. Setsuna, we don't really know what happened to her. All we know so far is that she was separated. She seems to have part of Sesshomaru's Moku Moku, which is the furry thing that he has on there. I assume a tail, maybe. They show that she shows up sort of, I guess she must be like 13 or something, at the village where Kagome and everybody tended to use as a central hub, so Kaede's village. She just shows up one day and she ends up joining the demon slayers. So Kohaku is still a demon slayer. So yeah, that's the three main new ones. I'm not going to introduce all of them. You can watch Axel Beats or Angela for those. They'll go into that more. So a few other problems I have with it. So I always assumed, from the way the manga was written and from the way the anime was shown, that Hanyo took quite a while to grow up. It seems to now be established that they kind of grow up normally and then the aging slows down. But that wasn't the impression I got from Inuyasha. So I don't know whether that's changed or whether perhaps I misinterpreted what was being said in the original. But that bothered me a bit. Not so much for Moroha because she's only a quarter demon, whereas the other two are half. Kaede is still alive, and I really, really, really want to know if there's a reason for that, because in my books, another 20 years on from when Inuyasha finished, the woman should be dead. I'm sorry, I love her. I don't want her to be dead, but she's a normal human being. She's shown in the original to have aged normally from when she was a child at Kikyo's side, where Inuyasha knew her then, to when she finds Kagome, or Kagome is taken to her. She didn't really find her. So yeah, she was portrayed as incredibly old then, at least for the time, because you have to bear in mind, in feudal Japan, people didn't live as long as they would now. Certainly not by Japanese standards, because obviously Japan, they're quite a healthy country, and their upper age limits are quite high because they have healthy lifestyles. But yeah, so I want to know if there's a specific reason for that, whether there's something to do with her Miko ability, so her priestess abilities, or whether it's just she's just a really fit and healthy old lady and she's lived 20, 30 years longer than most people do. I'd really like to know how old she actually is in Yashahime. I probably should have looked that up first. Anyway, so this kind of brings me to episode 12. So this is where we find out about Toa and her human knight. So she shares her human knight with Inuyasha. It's on the night of the new moon. We got a teaser of this in episode 11, the little sneak peek at the end. Everybody got excited. Oh my gosh, she shares the knight, Toa. One problem. So the original anime established that every half demon has a period where they are human. It could be a day, it could be a night, and it's not necessarily the same as everybody else. For example, Inuyasha has it on the night of the new moon. Then you have Jinenji, who had it during a day. Didn't say which day, but it was during a day, because you had Rin, who was trying to save Jarken from the insect things. What the hell were they called? Anyway, the insects that stung him. Anyway, so he'd been stung. He was going to die. So Rin takes Aun and she goes to find Jinenji because she's trying to find these berries. Jinenshu berries? Genshu berries? I can't remember now. But anyway, she goes to Jinenji's hut and his mother tells her that he can't help her today. Fine. It is explained that it's his human day and that he doesn't do anything. He hides away. And it's a big thing throughout the anime that Hanyo do not tell anyone what day or night that they lose their powers, because obviously it's dangerous. If they're quite a strong half demon like Inuyasha, there's going to be a lot of enemies that would love to know when that day or night is. So they hide away. In fact, they even did it in the movie. In one of the movies, which one was it? It was the one with the mirror, with Kaguya of the moon person. I really should write more down. I should script these things, but I haven't. So anyway, they made a thing of it. So here's my problem with this latest episode, and this is what kind of triggered me to want to do an actual video on this. And sorry for the shaking. My computer desk is not the most stable. Anyway, so in this episode, you have Toa become human, and actually they're in the middle of a battle, and there's poison everywhere. So Setsuna happens to have 2 masks. Obviously, she's prepared, doesn't expect for Moroha to need one. Gives a mask for Toa. Things happen, and Moroha ends up having to take Toa with her to try and get her to safety, while Setsuna goes off after the big bad of the week. So as they're going off, my phone's buzzing. As they're going off, Toa's hair turns black, and she enters into a human phase. Turns out this never happened in the modern day Japan. They're still calling it a different world. So her hair turns black, she becomes fully human, and Moroha even says, you know, she doesn't even smell demon, and so on and so forth. So they hide. Moroha is shown using more of her Miko powers. So I didn't mention this earlier, but Moroha, being the perfect mix of Inuyasha and Kagome, she is both a demon and a Miko, so a priestess. So she has quite strong spiritual powers. So even if she lost her demon powers, she could back herself up with her spiritual power. She also has this little shell with some rouge in it. If you have watched Inuyasha, that was originally given to Kikyo. Lots of people have speculated because you see Naraku crush it when he pretends to be Inuyasha to kill her. I kind of explained that away, that perhaps Kaede came across it and it wasn't like completely shattered, and she fixed it and maybe gave it back to Inuyasha years and years later. That can be explained away, but it has caused a bit of contention in the minds of Inuyasha fans. But that doesn't bother me that much. This, on the other hand, does, because Myoga shows up. Somehow Moroha is able to call him, whether he stays really close to her or something all the time at Inuyasha's behest, I don't know. We don't know anything about them at the moment, which is really annoying. I don't know. So he shows up and he basically says that the new moon is when all half demons become human. Not just, oh, she shares her night with Inuyasha. Now, I have watched the Japanese version. This isn't the dubbed version. So this isn't the dub, the dubbing crew, the script writers for the dub screwing up and changing the wording. This is actually how it is meant to be said. So they basically said that the night of the new moon is when all Hanyo lose their powers. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It kind of no, I don't like it. So that annoyed me today, and this is why it triggered me into finally making a video about Yashahime. So this means that actually it implies that everybody loses their powers on the night of the new moon. However, there could be a saving grace because Setsuna doesn't, and neither does Moroha. On the other hand, they also established that Moroha never has, and perhaps it's because she's a quarter demon rather than a full Hanyo. And Setsuna also has never lost her powers. They determined perhaps it's to do with this butterfly. So again, for anyone who hasn't watched this and isn't worried about spoilers, there is a dream butterfly that's stealing her dreams. They've implied in an earlier episode that they're stealing the dreams to sustain Rin, who is trapped in the Tree of Ages. Or rather, I think she's sealed in the Tree of Ages. She seems to somehow be being sustained by Setsuna's own life force. Setsuna is unable to sleep as a result, and she has little to no memories of her childhood whatsoever. She doesn't remember Toa. She doesn't remember when they were separated. She did in the previous episode to this one. She did have some flashes as if something was coming back to her. But other than that, she doesn't remember. And she's very Sashomaru in the anime. So that's, it's all a bit like that for me is a bit upsetting because it kind of throws in the face a lot of the stuff that was established during Inuyasha. And there's a couple of things that continuity for me is a really big thing. So these couple of continuities, so the age thing, again, I can kind of look over that because that might be my issue, that I've just not understood the manga and the anime so well. But at the same time, it seems like a continuity error to me. And definitely this seems like a continuity error. They might explain it away somehow later on, but I don't know. Now, another reason I wanted to do this. So we're going to finish off with the teaser of this episode, so episode 12. Finally, we're going to see Moroku. Like actual Moroku. We've seen snippets of him with his little hat on, and I know he doesn't wear a hat in Inuyasha, but it's one of those little rain hat things, straw hat things. You can see it's obviously him. So the teaser says you need to go see my brother, help my brother. He apparently has been training, 1,000-day training or something, and you actually see Sango praying. So we might find out what happened to Inuyasha and Kagome and Sesshomaru, what actually happened. So I may have squeed quite loudly. My poor little dog. I have a little chihuahua. I have several chihuahuas actually, and a collie. I may have made her jump. I have one that will not stay downstairs with the others, so she's currently asleep on my bed over there. But yeah, so she you see the episode shows Miroku. There's clearly going to be a fight going on. You see Sango there. I wonder if we'll find out what happened to the twins. So Hisui's sisters. Because obviously at the end of Inuyasha, they have 2 twin girls and a little boy. The twin girls that play with Inuyasha, doggy. They were so cute. And the cutest thing about that was the fact that Inuyasha just put up with it. You know, it was like, oh. But yeah, I'm really hoping now that we actually get some focus, because from what I understand, there are only going to be 25 episodes. So we're 12 episodes in, and so far, all we've learned about the story is that we've got this dude called Kirin-Maru, who may or may not be the bad guy, but is being put out as the bad guy at the moment. He's got 4 underlings. And there is another character who may or may not be Kirin-Maru's son. Certainly looks like it. I forget his name right now. But yeah, basically, that's all we've learned so far. All we've learned about the girls is Toa and Setsuna seem to win every fight they get into. There's been no injuries, which, you know, Inuyasha, they weren't sparing with the injuries. Poor Inuyasha was always, how that poor boy, I mean, his demon blood must have been so good at healing. I mean, he could have given Wolverine from the X-Men a run for his money. I mean, seriously, dude. There was blood flying everywhere most weeks. So, yeah, there's none of that. But I've not seen any... I don't think I've seen any blood in it. I mean, we've had some skeletons being pulled out of people's bodies, but there's been no blood that I can recall. So what do I want to see? And what are my theories? So I'm half wondering. I originally wondered whether Inuyasha and the gang were sealed in the pearls. I had thought perhaps Sango might have been, but now we know she's not because she's in there. But certainly Inuyasha and Kagome could be sealed somewhere. I certainly hope so. I don't want them to be dead. I really don't want. Not after everything they went through. If they're dead, I will riot. Those 2 deserve to be happy, and they deserve to spend some time with their daughter. Especially Inuyasha. I mean, he had such a miserable childhood. And to then, you know, we don't even know what happened. But yeah, they could still be sealed in the pearls. They could be sealed in the Tree of Ages. I do think something has happened to keep them away. I'm really hoping Inukimi, so Sesshomaru's mother, has something to do with it. I doubt it, but I'd love for her to be in it. She's got on my cosplay list. Every time I watch that episode with her in, I want more. She's just such a fun little character. I mean, she's not as cold as Sesshomaru. Everybody says, "Oh, she's so cold." It's like, no, she's not cold. She's aloof, but not like Sesshomaru aloof. I'm not sure how to describe it. She's more playful than Sesshomaru. So Sesshomaru, he's purely aloof. He is purely like, I'm better than everybody. Don't mess with me. Whereas Inukimi is just like, I'm bored, so I'm going to mess with you. And she does. I mean, seriously, she does. I love Inukimi. So yeah, I kind of had this idea in my head as well, where perhaps the girls come across Inuyasha sealed somewhere, and perhaps they've been tricked into thinking, or they've been tricked into thinking that the demon sealed in wherever they sealed him is evil, and they're going there to slay him. But Maruha recognizes who he is, and she's the one that says, we can't slay this one. Purely fan fiction there. But that's something like, I'd love to see that Maruha, she clearly wants to know her parents. She clearly wants to have a family. I'd love to see that. Now, I'd like to see so much. I'd like to see Toa and Setsuna actually struggle with something. I really would. There really is no struggle in this, not like there is in Inuyasha. And I know it's because they're trying to do something different, but the thing is, the formula worked. And I read an article the other day where it was saying that they're discovering themselves, and it's an amazing thing about discovery. But the thing is Inuyasha was also a story about discovery, about oneself and acceptance. One of the main things in Inuyasha is the struggle with how people saw him, how people react to him, and things like that. You had this beautiful scene for the Jinenji one where you met Jinenji, and Inuyasha's there, and he opens up to Kagome, and he's like, I'm not either. I'm neither a human or a demon. I don't fit in both, and so I made my own place. That's heart-wrenching. To think that, there are people in this world that feel like that. In the LGBT community, even people of different ethnicities. I felt like that because I don't have what's considered in this world a normal religion. I know, certainly not to a certain extent, look at the color of my skin. I'm paler than a freaking ghost, so I can hide. Because I am a pagan with druid leanings, so I worship the earth, and I'm thankful to what comes out of the earth: grass, plants, vegetables, life. That's all I believe in. But I have been made to feel, it was only a couple months ago I was called a modern heathen. Not long after that, someone sent me a video where a woman in my own country was at an ancient druidic site, and she was basically screaming about two women who dared to go and look at these old druid stones. And she claimed they were witches and they were doing sexual acts on these stones, which I find very unbelievable, given it was the middle of the day and it was a public place. She started actually scratching on the stones, and after a while she turned to the camera and said, we are an army belonging to a certain deity, and we're going to hunt you people down. That's terrifying to me. All I want to do is just get on with my life, and to know that there are people who can't hide in the general public like I can only imagine it's 10 times worse. So for me, the struggle with the anime in Inuyasha where they were showing how people treated him purely because he was born different. Purely not because he believed anything different. I just believe something different to the norm. Is purely based on the way he was born. Is, that's why it resonated with everything. And Yashahime to me has yet to show that. It's yet to show any real heart. I'm hoping that changes once the original casts start being trickled back in. But we shall see. And this has been one hell of a babble. I'm not very good at this. I should probably script these things, but I just kind of come across it as I do. I will continue watching Yashahime because it's Inuyasha, and I will just keep watching it. If you like this, let me know, and let me know if you want me to do much shorter videos on each episode, or every couple of episodes, sort of recap and stuff. I'd like, it'd be quite fun. And other than that, if I don't upload before then, have an amazing holiday. For me, it's winter solstice, but for a lot of people, it's Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever celebration you have around the shortest day of the year. I hope you have fun with whatever loved ones you have with you, whether that be family, friends, your teddy bear, your dogs, whoever makes you happy. I hope that you have an amazing time this year. Blessed be. Bye.